Line now, how many times?
Okay, we're live.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this almost the last meeting of the current Mahone Bay Town Council. Good evening as well to the folks of you at home who have decided to join us on YouTube. And we'll begin by acknowledging that we are gathered tonight in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral, present, and future territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And tonight we gather with the intent followed by the living peace and friendship treaties. And we do so with respect, cooperation, and coexistence. We'll call our meeting to order. And we will, Council, you have an agenda that was emailed out to you. What is your wish on the agenda? Councillor Wilson,
Good, the agenda is circulated.
seconded by Councillor Now. On the question, all in favor, the motion is carried. Let's go to the minutes of the regular council meeting that was held on September 10th. Councillor Carver,
Your worship, I move that they be accepted as circulated.
thank you. Seconded by Councillor Lawrence Croft. On the motion, all in favor, motion's carried. And let's go to the special council meeting of September 16th. Councillor Lawrence Croft moves acceptance as presented. And Councillor Carver seconds it. Okay, you've heard the motion. On the question, all in favor, that motion is carried as well. Do we have anyone to comment on the public input session tonight? Please, yes,
Yes, please.
okay,
Okay.
now's your chance.
Thank you. Can I sit here?
Sure.
My name is Tammy Turner and my husband and I live at 228 Hawthorne Road. I've spoken to council on September 10th
Mhm.
on behalf of ourselves and on behalf of the Hawthorne Hill Neighbors Association. I'm here tonight to continue to voice my concern as to how an illegal Airbnb at 288 Hawthorne Road has continued to be managed by the town of Mahone Bay's bylaw officer, Mr. Alan McMullen. We've been in contact with Mr. McMullen since early July. I was contacted by a telephone by Mr. McMullen late this afternoon. I wrote to Mr. McMullen on Monday, asking for information as to where he was in an investigation of this illegal Airbnb. Mr. McMullen responded to my email that the Airbnb site had been taken down and that on occasion, the owners might have friends staying at the home, but it would not be an Airbnb. Upon investigating, I discovered that the Airbnb site was still up and running. And we also noticed different vehicles at the location. I followed up again with another email that stated that the Airbnb site had not been taken down and was still active and sent photos of the vehicles. I did not hear back from Mr. McMullen, so I left a message today for him to call me. He did so. In that conversation, Mr. McMullen told me that the owners of the Airbnb had until the end of September to continue running their Airbnb because he, the bylaw officer, made a deal with them. He made this deal because they had people who had booked this Airbnb. He told me that the owners of the Airbnb had been cooperative with him. I explained to Mr. McMullen that I was appalled that he would make a deal with people who continue to run an illegal business in our neighborhood, who were charging upwards of $400 to $500 per night, who did not have a permit, who were not paying additional taxes for running a business, and who had lied about the fact that they had a permission from the town in the first place to run this Airbnb. Mr. McMullen said that I did not understand his position and that he had made the best deal possible. I asked him why he felt he needed to make a deal with people who were illegally running a business in our neighborhood. His response was that if this was brought to court, it would have continued longer. I asked him if he had given any penalties or tickets for running this Airbnb. He had not. That would take too much investigation and he would have to have evidence, he told me. I told Mr. McMullen that he had been given plenty of evidence through Airbnb site, through the reviews on the Airbnb site, and photos that have been supplied to him with dates attached. Mr. McMullen knows that I'll be speaking to you tonight at council. He knows of my utter dissatisfaction with the way this has been handled. But he tells me there is nothing that can be done because they, meaning all of you, are the council and he is the bylaw officer. My concern is this. If this is the way the town of Mahone Bay's bylaw officer handles such a clearly illegal matter, and has done so for over 3 months, coming up over 3 months, I wonder what the town of Mahone Bay ever hopes to get resolved with any bylaw that this town has in place. I will be following this up with a formal letter to council for your next council meeting in October. But please understand that we, that's myself, my husband, and the Hawthorne Hill Neighbors Association are very displeased with the way this illegal Airbnb has been managed.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have another item on our agenda tonight that'll bring us back to this topic, yeah. And it's part of the correspondence, so let's go to that. We've got 6 items in the correspondence folder tonight. What is your wish, council? Councilor Feeney?
Mayor, are you prepared to discuss 5.3?
5.3. If you wish, it's council's choice.
Mayor, I'd move that council direct staff to forward a donation in the amount of $250 to the Remembrance Day luncheon event to the Royal Canadian Legion Mahone Bay Branch 49 and draw that funding from allocations that haven't been dispersed from the grants program.
Seconded. On the question. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. I hope the Legion remembers this year that it's co-hosted by the town.
Fair enough.
And co-funded by the town. Is it a firefighter who's involved? Fire department? Yes, yeah. Seemed to slip their mind last year. Anyway. Again, with the correspondence.
Mayor, as regarding item 5.6, the request for the installation at the aquatic garden. Would you like to have a conversation about that? I'm not sure how.
If you don't want to give us a motion and it's seconded, we'll discuss on the question.
Okay, I'm not sure if staff, if this is just out of the blue, if this correspondence is out of the blue, or if staff's in the loop on this, but I'd ask, I make a motion to have direct staff to prepare a brief summary of the opportunity and make a recommendation back to council about the opportunity for the installation.
Okay, we have a seconder, deputy mayor seconds. On the question, Councillor Carver.
When I saw the proposal, my immediate thought was, whether there would be consultation with the garden club, who have been the people who have traditionally been what I call the beautifiers in that area. So, I hope that there would be some way of including them in the conversation.
Would we make that part of the direction to staff, that their preparation of a position paper, for want of another term, would include such conversation to get the opinion of the garden club? Okay, anything else? Councilor Owens Crowe?
Do we know, is that to be done this fall or is it for something next spring?
I think it would go into the space next spring. I know the places that currently have the installations are looking for winter storage because they apparently are susceptible to weather. There's old wood, so I doubt very much if staff would recommend to put them out there now, rather wait until the spring. CAO?
Is that okay?
No,
So I just wanted to say, I'm happy to do the report that's been requested. We did go over, Jonathan and I, and looked at the
Okay.
site. And it certainly seems acceptable. We haven't talked to the garden club yet, so, you know, if council wants to get a report back, that'll be on the next meeting, so that'll be an easy thing to do. And we'll just see if the garden club has any
Mhm.
commentary. I think they're aware of it.
Mhm.
Deputy Mayor?
no, just seems to be with you.
Okay. Do we have a potential site
I was
identified?
gonna say, that's what I'm at.
Yeah, they did have a site. It's basically between the two ponds on the rear side. That's what they like.
Okay.
I think it has some advantage in terms of not being easily accessed, like it's to look at and not touch.
Mhm.
And that's not an area that people are really walking through, so,
Okay,
but, you know, we'll provide some commentary in the report. We can do a little, show you where it is.
And are we responsible for the cost? Because will you have to be on a pad or something to prevent rot?
Yeah, they said they would take care of everything, but what everything consists of, I'm not totally clear. So you look at them around, they're installed in different ways. So I can, now that we're getting a report, I can double check on that detail.
they are the chamber?
Yes, yeah, that is what was indicated to me. Now, I will say most of the conversations on this have not been with Christine directly, but she did send the letter. So I know that she's in the loop.
Okay. Any other questions?
Good to vote on
the
that,
issue?
Mayor?
Pardon me?
Are we good to vote on that motion?
I think we are.
Think so too.
All in favor? Motion is carried. So that's that one. What about 5.5? The thank you from Lunenburg County Wheels for the donation we made. Always nice to get a thank you for something that we've done.
I think we probably need, 5.4 has been too
Yep,
public,
Mhm.
public input sessions where, Tony and Tom have come and they've shared their thoughts and I think our silence probably might not necessarily communicate that this is being taken care of or being taken seriously by us, but I think from my perspective, staff are doing what needs to be done. Some of the things that need to be done require privacy and there are questions around how much can you push that and how much do you in many ways, some of the ways in which they might want the file to be followed through might not be appropriate in other circumstances, and so Al as a bylaw officer has a lot to balance and it
Okay.
is difficult and tricky in the circumstances. Yes, maybe it's taken longer than it was supposed to, but I think from what I've seen so far in the letter that has been circulated, we sent to Tommy and Tom, Tammy and Tom. I think staff have done the best they could to resolve the issue. Now there still needs to be work to ensure that actually by the end of September, that doesn't continue to be an Airbnb.
Councillor Wilson, and then was.
Two things bother me about this. One is that there seems to be this prevailing sense that if you're not an Airbnb, you're not really a short-term rental.
They're not what?
If you're not an Airbnb, you're not a short-term rental. There are hosts of ways to be a short-term rental that aren't Airbnb.
Mhm.
The other piece that bothers me is the section where I read somewhere today that they were ceasing the short-term rental, but friends would be dropping over occasionally to stay,
Yeah.
which is, as you maybe know, a time-honored way of illegally chartering a boat. And if somebody happens to leave $400 on that, well, so be it.
Yes, forget.
So, I voted against, or was against this provision of the bylaw in the first place, so I'm a bit at cross purposes here, but I do despair about how we're gonna effectively implement this bylaw if you're allowed to dodge around it in this way.
Okay. Deputy Mayor,
Yeah.
and then Councillor Feeney,
So
say you again.
I agree to a certain extent, but I think that the principle of putting in the bylaw was to ensure that unoccupied homes are able to do that, because people are able to do that in other parts of the province and other parts of the country. So, over time, I am pretty sure this will calm down. Over time, the issue of illegal or not illegal will be investigated enough so that people around those places will have an ability to say, well, that wasn't legal and it's happening now. Now, you'll never be able to clamp down on the, I'm leaving for $400 on the table for you, and you're doing a side deal. That I don't think you would ever be able to get rid of that. I think what's open in the short-term rental sites, VRBO, Airbnb, Facebook, those will need a lot of, I guess, policing to a certain extent, and we and staff might be able to do that. But the handshakes happen in every area of business, so that would be very difficult for council to actually enforce. So I think it's a new bylaw we've put in place. It's not even been 1 year yet. This is the first test case to a certain extent. The speed might be not to the liking of the community, and that's fair. I probably would be complaining if I was a neighbor there. So I understand and I'm grateful that was brought to the table, but I think we need to give staff time to be able to get the necessary, I guess, ways in which they can enforce this, because it's just, I even wonder what else could have done to enforce it more. I don't have any ideas. I would probably tell them to do.
Councillor Finn, thank you, Deputy.
You know, I do have a high degree of confidence that the Turners understand the process. Where today, this evening's conversation and their presentation and the one that on the 10th was a one-way delivery of information to the benefit of council without the receipt of information or feedback from council. So I do just put everybody's mind at ease. I'm quite confident that they understand that that's how the process works. I do think that it behooves us all to try to make sure that everyone else in the community also understands that that segment of the agenda is information being provided to council, but it's not a back and forth conversation, and it's designed in that format. So I do believe the Turners are satisfied with having the opportunity to provide council that information, and they didn't and don't have the expectation that they were going to get a bunch of personal feedback back directly tonight. So, you know, I think the improvements on around that part of the process on the agenda have really come a long way in the last 4 years. But, you know, I think that this time, I think that process worked really well.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr.
okay,
Mayor.
Mohammed, go for
It'll be
it.
very quick, two quick things. I just wanted to mention that, because there was reference made in the commentary to the property still being listed on the Airbnb site. And I don't know how the Airbnb site works, but if you do look at the listing there, it was up until September 17th. So while it is still showing, the property has been delisted for active rental. So, you know, our commentary has been that the property has been voluntarily delisted. And I just wouldn't want people to say, well, it's still up there. Well, I don't know how you take down a past entry, but it's not active going forward. And then I just wanted to say, because there's reference made to the letter, it would be great to actually have a motion to direct staff to send a letter in response. And then I'll do that right away. So they'll have something, since, as Councillor Payne pointed out, there was no opportunity to respond to the.
It is, just if I could, Councillor Carter, it's my understanding that yes, it has been taken off of the site, but the owner does have a few, I've never heard a number, bookings that were to come up that they would prefer to have not canceled because people were still planning on visiting.
But those are now over as well.
But they're all
Those
done now
are
as well.
over as well.
Okay, all right, Councillor Carter.
I just get the sense from the previous contributions to this discussion that everything is fine and was done fine and the Turners are satisfied, but that's not what I heard tonight. I heard the tone of aggrieved people who feel that they haven't had adequate explanation.
And they didn't get the answers they wanted from the bylaw enforcement officer.
I'm not gonna comment on the answers that they
Okay.
commented on. But what I heard was that they feel deeply aggrieved and not heard
No action.
and we seem to be saying, well, we've done everything right. But it's not registering that way or being understood by the people at play.
Yeah.
So I have a sense that other people around the table want to comment on this.
Yes,
Deputy Mayor,
so,
the
so,
councillor now.
yeah, what I was trying to make clear is that it's not that we've done anything right, the council has done what staff actually, not even council, staff have tried their best to ensure that they're enforcing the bylaw. It's probably not at the speed that the community would have wanted for it to happen, and I can understand that. But bylaw enforcement, at least from my perspective, has some nuances that do not allow for the speed that hope that probably that the neighbors want. Now, from what has been put in the report and from what was put in the letter, my understanding is that the issue is resolved. It's just that it's not evident to the neighborhood, but it is resolved from what we've seen. Now, the only thing that we can probably wait for is by the next round of meetings, if there's still an Airbnb in operation, then there'll be a question to start, right?
Yeah.
But staff have told us it's been taken down.
Exactly.
There's nothing else.
It's the 26th of September.
Of September. There's nothing else we can do, from, at least from my perspective, that would move things forward. Now, it's very difficult for us on an open forum like this to have a back and forth around staff and how to handle something. That's something that I think council will probably do on a closed session. Because they need to do that, but so I think I have the confidence that you've been given, the letter that has been shown. Shows that staff were actually trying to address the issue. It's probably not at the speed that folks want to, and I complain about speed about my own employer all the time, and I understand how those things can be different from experience perspective.
Councillor now and then CAO.
We're referring back, and I think short-term rentals is more than just Airbnbs. So we've got an issue there. But as far as the dealing of it goes, yes, it hasn't moved along very fast. But I agree with what Al has seemingly told them about it would be even longer if we went to court. Because, you know, we all know the court system is not very fast, and they would try our bylaw, and how far would that go? So I think that they handled it properly in that direction, but I know if I was in the neighborhood, I would probably say, well, you know, why aren't we getting some action? But I think that they are getting some action, it's just a lot slower than what they had anticipated.
Okay, thank you. CAO.
Councilor now did a great job on what I was going to say, which is that those of us around the table understand that different types of bylaws are enforced in different ways, which comes with different timeframes. And land use bylaws, by their nature, are enforced through court processes, which are very time consuming. So the vast majority of resolutions to non-compliance issues with the land use bylaw are achieved voluntarily. And that's where this time and discussion and the references to the bylaw officer allowing for things comes in. Because to settle it not voluntarily means to settle it through legal action at expense to the community and the property owner, and a far more lengthy and drawn out process. So, you know, when anyone says if staff could have done this quicker, there really is no instrument doing this quicker. I think the deputy mayor made a really great point, which is that the reason it doesn't happen overnight, it's the nature of land use bylaws, is they create norms over time. So the land use bylaw is not really meant to see immediate enforcement. We change the rules on people who have invested in homes. And we've changed the rules. So it's reasonable to expect that that compliance would not be instantaneous. And I think it's important for people to have that context. Happy to have the chance to offer it. Hopefully this helps a little bit for people's understanding of why these things do take time. It is different from catching a dog running at wire. You know, there are different types of bylaws and there are different manners in which they're enforced.
Councillor Wilson.
I'd like to move the council direct staff to write a letter to the Turners explaining in a fulsome way what has happened throughout this process and where we sit to date or at the end of this month.
Thank you.
Oh.
Are you seconding Councillor now?
Yes.
Yes. Councillor Carver on the question.
Yeah, I appreciate the comments from everybody around the table. And if I might just sort of add to and I appreciate Councillor Wilson's motion, which seems to imply that there'd be a softening effect of the letter. At least I would hope that would be included, not to, I'm still reacting to this sense of total alienation and distance that has been created by the legalities. And is there a way of bridging that in the way the letter is written? That's my comments.
Okay.
I'm just-
Deputy,
I
sorry.
have to, sorry, as everyone knows, there is a letter.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted.
If this is a motion to send the letter, we're gonna hit send when the motion
Send.
passes. If it's not that, then tell me what you want me to do.
Deputy Mayor.
That's what I wanted to jump in to ask the mover and second that to maybe amend the motion to say the letter as drafted, because we already have received the letter.
Yes, I read the letter. I forgot, sorry. Amend to send.
Okay, same thing, seconder agrees.
Yes.
Anything else on the question? All in favor? Motion's carried. Hit the button, CAO.
It's gone.
Okay,
Took this over.
anything else on correspondence?
7-5.
Thank you. Question. All in favor to receive and file?
Kelly. The other Kelly.
That wasn't me.
The dynamic duo over here in the corner. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Wilson.
Those flat man and ribbon.
Okay, so that takes care of correspondence. Let's go to staff reports at the end of the month.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is getting shorter now because we've really reduced the tasks assigned portion, but there's a lot of budget detail and other things in there. Happy to take any questions. This is the last long form report of this council, I suppose.
Councillor Kerr.
I just have a couple of questions. One was I asked the CAO earlier today what had happened to the motion and the direction to develop a policy around film production in town. And I understand that it is in process, and that it might be added to the list of projects that would be brought forward
To the new.
to the next council,
Yes.
because it's not there now. And my other question, if I may,
Yes, please.
or comment, has to do with the Public Works report that noted that the repair work had been done on the bridge to the aquatic gardens. And having heard several comments and questions about why it's so narrow and is it okay to be so narrow? I just wondered if we could have some commentary from the CAO about the dimensions and if they meet accessibility requirements.
Standards.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that. So my understanding is that Jonathan did look into the guidance, this is Eric Baker, Public did look into the guidance on this, and I think even spoke with Ellen in this regard, but if he didn't.
And who was Ellen?
Ellen is our regional accessibility coordinator. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
If he didn't speak with Ellen, he would be relying on guidance that she's previously pointed us to in the form of design guidance for civic engineering. So my understanding is that the width of the bridge was based as with the width of our stairwells in the building on the guidelines around having railings to hold. And the appropriate width is supposed to be narrow enough that someone can hold the railings on both sides of the bridge. Now, that is different from the width if you were looking at like an active transportation trail. But it's wide enough for a wheelchair and it's wide enough for a person pushing a wheelchair. And it's appropriate for someone who requires stabilization to hold the railings on the side of the bridge. So that's my understanding as to why the width is where it is. I believe it meets guidelines for accessibility, yeah, but that's it answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's the biggest concern is that it's accessible for wheelchairs. So.
Deputy Mayor.
It's not included in the report, but I just was curious, as part of the track around the field.
Mhm.
Installation wasn't done right first time round. And I was sort of wondering whether that as the orchard and trail benches were being completed and done, whether there was still plan to follow up with the contractor to do.
Yeah, we might need to have closed session conversation about it, but essentially we do now because our accessibility audits also were quite, damning of the surface there. The best we're gonna get out of that trail surface is essentially the crusher dust effect, right? So spreading and compacting of crusher dust on the existing surface is basically the only thing left to be done, and it's not gonna be the surface we wanted, even with that. So with the way that the surfaces are done in the walkways within the orchard, it makes more use of crusher dust than the trailer and the field. But that's really the only difference there. I think in the long run, the good course of action is what Mahone Bay United has suggested is to look at proper athletic surfacing and a grant that would cover that. Because we're not going to get as close as I would have liked with the surface we've got. And we can talk more about the contractor, but I don't think we should do that in open sessions.
Is that a initiative that is being discussed between staff and the club?
Yes, it's been proposed that that is what we should seek, because we're not gonna get to
Okay,
where we would have liked, and this would be, more ideal, obviously, an athletic running surface. But we would need at least 80% subsidization on it.
yeah, fair enough.
So, accessibility is a rising tide right now, but maybe something that we can spot an opportunity for. I think it has particular appeal as a private, like TD Bank or something type funding initiative. So with Mahone Bay United and their great broad appeal, we would be more successful in finding some money. So I'm sure I'll be talking more with the club about that.
What's the reality of crusher dust in the dam? I'm thinking of people that are using their mobility issues. So they have a wheelchair and they wanna use the track. But if it's crusher dust as opposed to pavement or sport surface, the wheels just won't cut it through the crusher dust.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is it, like, it's not going to be as solid a surface as what the proposed surface was supposed to be.
Yeah,
Crusher dust is considered to be good accessible surface, but it is definitely more susceptible to weather, for sure, and has other limitations, so that's why it wouldn't be like the ultimate long term.
that's good.
The good thing, I guess, about that track is that, the gravel base was built up properly to control drainage, so if it does shed water, water doesn't sit on it in a way that would be more destructive as pressure does.
Okay. Other questions? On the staff report? Entertain a motion to receive the report for information purposes. So moved by the deputy mayor. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Feeney. On the question, all in favor? Motion's carried. Let's go to the staff report, the IT update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know it's a little bit unusual to share this update here, but I had spoken with Lisa Bozek, the IT director at MJSB, about wanting to make sure that this message reached current council members and potentially would-be council members, since it affects incoming council members as well, rather than limiting the message to the existing MJSB board members. So for anyone who was at MJSB board last night, this is the same report that was delivered there, and it was delivered just for information, so it is again presented here for information. Largely concerns changes that councillors will expect with respect to the use of MJSB provided devices like laptops and the ability to access MJSB software such as the Office 365 from third-party devices, which will no longer be allowed. So I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. If anybody has questions, I can either answer them or take them back to Lisa. And you could take them to Lisa, really, now that you're aware of this change, but I just want to mostly make sure everybody's aware of the change. So, does anyone have questions or anything? It's just for information.
Just one comment, and that is, would it be possible to send this memo, or advisable to send this memo to the candidates that aren't sitting in this room?
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly let them know, like, it'll be, part of the training when people are elected.
Hmm,
So, you know, you won't miss it, but, yeah, I mean, I can let them know.
okay. Anything else on that one? It's already in play. I can't get in with my home computer anymore. So I have to use this one.
As long as they didn't turn off the electric bicycle. we're fine.
No,
Yeah.
that's right. I gotta have something to fall off of.
I didn't know it was effective immediately,
I think it's gonna be one of these things that phases in.
because I use my home computer too with it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you use it today?
Hmm?
Did you use it today?
Not much, no, not,
Yeah, you're not, technically, I think you should see the terms of use come up on your town laptop before the effect is gonna happen with third-party devices. But, you know, as the mayor said, who knows if it's phased in some fashion, I know he said it could take a while to get rolled out to every device.
mhm.
But, you know, if you see it pop up on your work laptop, that'll probably be a sign that you then will lose access from third-party devices. Maybe sooner.
So your
Okay.
video on your phone is affected?
What?
Yeah, if you have a private phone and you want to allow them to install their security suite on your phone, then you will be able to access your email through your personal phone. But only if MJSB can have access to your personal phone to install the security suite. And essentially, what they want is to be able to have access to lock down your device if you lose it, or, you know, that type of thing. So yeah, they can put that on your phone. They can't put it on a personal computer. So personal computers will simply be unable to use this, and, you know, just, that's the new rule. So yeah, the phones can be allowed if you're willing to let them put that.
Well, my phone's connected, so but I had it done through tap. Here,
They did the two-factor identification thing.
yeah,
Yeah, this is similar, but there's another thing that they just have to do similarly. Yeah,
so that may phase out, so,
so you'll still be able to use your phone. There might be a period when you lose access, and if you do lose access, let us know and we'll get them to install this program on your phone, and then you'll regain access.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a program that's only usable on a mobile device, so you can't install it on a home computer.
Okay. If there's nothing else with the IT update,
Nope.
let's go to emergency measures update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we've had a great weather wise, we had a great fall weather wise so far, so we have not needed to activate any comfort center capacities, but the good news is we've gotten quite a lot of interest. You know, relatively speaking, taking a lot of beating of the bushes, but good amount of community interest in the idea of volunteering. So we are ready now to start training volunteers for the operation of the comfort center, and we'll do that with some coordination to the fire department so that they know people are being given access and what we're asking of these people in the event of emergency. That is really just presented for information at this time. And then there's also the finalized version of the McLeod relocation agreement attached and a recommendation to enter into that agreement, which we've previously looked at, and there have been a few changes to reflect the prior discussion with council.
I have a question on that. So how do these volunteers gain access to the fire hall? Hopefully not all of them are gonna be given fobs.
I don't know exactly what the plans are gonna be as far as that goes, but we can limit the fob access to certain parts of the building, so they would never have access to the station.
Okay. Any other questions, Councillor
I was
Carver?
just gonna make the motion.
Okay, please.
I move that council enter into the emergency relocation agreement with the McLeod Group.
Thank you.
Second that, Mayor.
Okay. On the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. And I see the McLeod Group open to the public session is published.
How was it?
Today, the 8th, I believe, of October. That the new building is going to be open for public visitors.
If I may comment a little bit sideways on that. I've heard from the McLeod Group that they will have a policy published soon. for candidates who may want to canvass in the nursing home. So they are developing a policy and will publish it soon.
Always a fun visit to go to the nursing home.
And
Meet the folks that
recall
live
during the last election, of course, because of COVID, there was no campaigning.
We did it by Facebook, FaceTime,
Oh, really?
yeah.
It was pretty good. And any kind of a little, Home Bay town button. They love that kind of stuff too. It just makes them feel like they're part of the community.
They're having this public thing on the 8th, say that I hope they get their alarm system fixed by now. We had more false alarms there than we had at the old.
Is that
And
right?
now we're getting them between both. We're getting one time, another. We've had a lot of calls the last little
It's
while.
not the only faulty system, but they're getting all the bugs out, as
Yeah.
you would expect with
Yeah.
such a complicated
Well,
facility.
the biggest problem is that all these things are hidden in the ceiling and in the ductwork. You can't see them.
Good show.
Early days.
Yeah.
We voted on the motion, so let's go to 6.4, the data sharing agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So topically to the discussion of short-term rental, one of the tools that's being used to identify and ensure short-term rentals are in compliance is the provincial registry. It's actually the case that to get on the provincial registry, you're required to demonstrate compliance with local bylaws, which is often the first realization someone has that they're out of compliance with local bylaws. So it's actually proving to be quite a good system when they come in the door looking to prove that they're okay, only to have a conversation with Heather and find out they're not. So it's been handy, but anyway, the data sharing agreement that allows us to access the provincial registry is technically something that Chester has access to, but Mahone Bay doesn't at this time because of a peculiarity in the, we've got to re-up our data sharing agreement to use the correct terminology because it has become outdated. So what we're recommending is that we enter into the new agreement, and it was attached, and it's pretty boilerplate stuff.
I would so move that council enter into the short-term rental with data sharing agreement with the province of Nova Scotia.
Seconded by Councillor Carter. So then we'll all know what's going
Well, at least Heather will know.
Well, somebody will know.
on. On the question, all in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, CAO.
Thank you.
Let's go to the committee reports. First one is with the Heritage Advisory Committee. We do have the chair of the committee here with us. Does anyone have any questions on the report?
Mayor, I don't think there was any new business that came out of the report. We did receive and have a discussion about the note back from Mr. Duff and the McLeod Group. But there's no action that has come out of that meeting.
Okay, good. Thank you.
The recommendation to council.
Oh, pardon me.
Register.
There is an action item. Everything I just said, I take back. This is the truth.
It was.
Erase.
We did have a terrific review of a request for the Heritage Designation Program. And for 523 Main Street, which is the Sweet Ride building downtown. We'd like to move this item along based on the committee's recommendation to hear and hear about that, but we don't have the statement of significance yet. So I think, Kelly, this item is going to be at a future council meeting, but it's probably a month away. So the committee has made this recommendation. We'd like council to entertain the recommendation, but the committee isn't going to be meeting for a while.
Yeah.
So sometime in November-ish, maybe? Sometime in probably late October, November, this should be on a council, some future council agenda. But we just didn't want it to need to go back to the HAC to be discussed again.
Okay.
I think it's fully discussed and there's a recommendation to proceed.
So it's deferred until there's a new.
The the recommendation is being provided this evening, but the paperwork to make a decision is pending.
Okay.
I think that's fair. Kelly, would you say okay?
All right.
This is probably a question for Kelly, but is this the one that requires a hearing for the property owner? Okay, so that would have to go on a future agenda.
Yeah, we're just kind of
by the time it all gets settled, it'll probably be the new year.
Yeah, it'd be
The
a
new
little.
council, but.
Okay.
Other
Thank you,
than that,
Councilor
Mayor,
Green.
good to go.
Okay, let's go to 8.2 South Shore Open Doors Association. Their monthly update. Is there any comment? I have one question, I guess, that occurs to me when I see this monthly report. Is can they define how many people are being counted twice? You know, they've got a statistic there with families, and then they've got a statistic for intakes for the month. For how many of them were families, how many of them were members of families? What's the average typical family look like? I don't know, it may not be relevant, but it's,
Mayor, my understanding is that this whole system is based on by name. So they know which individuals are which. They're not just counting visits,
okay,
as I understand it. I mean, they may count visits, but they also know that individuals are involved because it's a by name process.
They're just
And can-
anonymizing it for our benefit, for the report.
yeah, but could they provide it by numbers alone? Like, how many children are we talking about, that are part of a family, or I assume they all are.
Well, the numbers are there. The number of children identified as currently experiencing homeless housing and security is, looks like 92. It's a little bit off the edge of my computer here.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that what you're asking for?
Just me, I mean, I look at it and I think, well, what's the solution? Well, there may be a number of different solutions, but you need more detail about what's the problem you're trying to tackle or come to grips with here.
I think maybe what you're trying to get at is, of that 92, are any of those included in the family count? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very
So you have a
good.
family count and you have a children count, but are some of those children included in the family?
Yes,
Are we double counting any?
Yeah,
it's not double counting, it's just the statistic being presented
Categorization.
in a different category.
They're not meant to add
They're
up.
not
one.
meant,
No,
they're
no,
not
no,
meant to
no.
total up, right?
But if we're, let's say we were considering a housing project. How many units are we talking? What, are they 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom? You know, what kind of an arrangement ideally would address what appears to be a significant problem?
So I guess I think if the way I look at this data, it's to tell us there is an issue where we have families who don't have housing, and in those families, there are kids
Yeah,
who don't have housing. And then now if you want to devise solutions, is to dig deeper and find out all those questions that you're asking. This is just a summary
okay,
of lots of statistics that they hold around all those. So a number here represents probably 10 different kinds of data points for them. They cannot put it all in this report. This is just, I guess, if you can call it sort of the highlights of what the concerns are.
and can they do a detailed cross-section of their data and data points? So that we would have that kind of information?
If that was required, they would be able to provide.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, good. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
I thought the total NS Power arrears was a very interesting number. Just to see that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's an energy project, energy poverty project, right? So.
yeah, that's the one they got funding from the
they have to show.
FCM for.
Yeah.
And Nova Scotia Power got some federal government money too.
Mayor, I wonder if there's any opportunity for the town to post a link to the blanket drive poster.
Kelly said, yeah, nodding, yeah, I'm sure we can do that. Right.
Okay. It's easy to overlook problems like that when you've got it all. Anyway. That would appear to be all of the business on our agenda for tonight. So we do have a couple of items for an in-camera session. Under 101, 22(2)A of the MGA concerning the acquisition, sale, and lease and security of municipal property. And also under the MGA 22(2)E on contract negotiations. But before we go to that, do we have any questions from the folks at home?
We don't.
We don't.
How many
Okay.
are there?
So,
Ooh,
Mary, I'd make a motion to move into the in-camera session.
thank you. Seconded by Councillor Carver. Before we go to the vote, we'll thank the people that joined us from home on the YouTube station. If you have any questions that occur to you, 3 o'clock tomorrow morning, you wake up and you have a question for council, you can call the town hall and talk with the CAO, or you can contact me or one of the councilors, and we will try to answer your question.
At 3 o'clock in the morning?
I think it's really.
At 3 in the morning, I think we recommend calling the mayor.
Yeah, but that's, you answer the question. so you don't answer it then.
Well, I assume they would wait until
Yes.
they had their breakfast at 7 o'clock before they go. I'll just give the phone to my wife and say, here, it's for you.